Welcome back, Reckzz Family. Welcome back, Reckzz Family. How you guys doing out there?
Welcome back to our channel.
Right. Just want to say a quick
disclaimer.
Thank you for our labor and delivery vlog. It's doing so good. We're at like 8,000 views. Our subscribers are going up. So we're so thankful for that. We are so happy that finally that we have 3 people in the video. The family's complete. The Reckzz family's complete.
The AAA.
Let me put this behind my back because Daddy just did yoga. Oops, you guys can see her, sorry.
For today's video, we're going to be explaining to you the labor and delivery vlog. So I'm going to go into detail on what it was like for me to go into labor, and then he's also going to be telling it from his point of view
from
too.
a dad's side perspective.
So I'm going to do mine, and I'm going to try to make it as quick as I can because this is going to be a longer video. So I want to make sure that I can get my side in, and then he can get his side in, because
this video shouldn't be too long. We're good at talking and breaking things down.
So I'm going to start off in the very beginning. I went in and had birth at 38 weeks and 6 days. So I was a day early is what they consider it. So you have to keep that in mind. Prior to that, just so people have like an understanding, and I had a checkup at 37 weeks. Was it 37 or was it 36 weeks?
37. 37
weeks, and I was 1.5 centimeters and 50% phased, or 25% phased, so not quite. I then started having contractions when we tried to induce the labor, and I went in and they said, you're 50% phased and 1.5 centimeters, we're gonna send you home. Mind you that this was probably 4 or 5 days before I went into actual labor. And then that later, the night that I went into labor was a normal night. We didn't think anything. I wasn't really having contractions.
You mean morning?
Morning. It felt like night to me because I woke up at 4 in the morning, but I didn't really have any like labor pains the day before, no back pain, so it was really unexpected. And my induction date was literally the next day. How crazy was that? But I woke up at 4 in the morning, and when I woke up, I just had a weird feeling, and I wiped, and Alan woke right up. He was just up. It was really weird because usually when I'm up in the morning to go pee, Alan does not get up. He's usually asleep, especially if he's a sleeper in person.
Yeah, but I had a feeling it was weird.
So I wipe, and I'm like, babe, is this normal? Like, I feel like this is a lot of blood. And then I looked in the toilet and I see chunks. So I lost my mucus plug. So I go and I sit down, and I told Alan, I'm like, I lost my mucus plug, because he's starting to like relax. And as soon as I told him that, I swear to God, his ears like perked up. He's like, he knows something's going on.
Oh.
And he's like, what does that mean? What does that mean?
I was like, oh no.
And I was like, okay, let me look it up. And so I looked it up, and they're like, oh, don't worry. Like, if you lose your mucus plug, you can go into labor within an hour, like hours or days or weeks. So they don't really consider you going into labor just because of your mucus plug. So I was like, we don't know, let's not think of it as something super bad. And then literally about 30 minutes later, Alan still couldn't sleep, which is really weird. I should have known right then and there. I started getting contractions, and I told him, I was like, let's not worry about it. It's not that bad. It doesn't hurt that bad. And then it started getting really bad. And he's like, time him. And I was like, why? Like, they're gonna send me home. I timed him for like 20 minutes, and Alan's like, we're going to the hospital. Get your stuff ready.
I was not playing
He's
around.
like, and I'm like, I'm fine. Like, I'm trying to, which luckily he did, because as soon as we got into the car and we had the bags, I had the worst contractions. I started crying, as you saw in the video. Like, I was crying. It hurt really bad. And for someone who wants to know what a labor contraction feels like, when they tell you that you cannot breathe through them, you cannot breathe. So don't take that for granted. It's the truth, and really look for that. That is something very important to look for. And on our way to the hospital, they started getting worse and worse and worse. And we went into the hospital, and I couldn't even walk. I had to have them drive me, do everything.
Yeah, they put her in a wheelchair.
So they instantly hook me up, and they see that I'm having contractions. So I know that they're contractions, but they're not necessarily labor contractions yet. They have to really figure that out for you. I have the doctor come in and check my cervix, and I am 2 centimeters, and I'm 90% That's crazy, effacement. That's like ultra thin. So they're like, you're really, really thin, But that doesn't mean anything. That could
Yeah.
mean that you're just someone who gets really thin and then you dilate later. So we're going to watch you for a little bit.
Yeah, it was probably like an hour.
An hour? No, it was like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And then they came back in, they gave us disappointing news of, you can labor at home. They're saying, it could happen in the next 5 hours or it could happen in 4 days.
Right.
So they are like, would you rather labor at home?
But that's prior because they gave her fentanyl and...
Not yet.
Oh, sorry.
Not yet. They didn't give me fentanyl yet, but we're getting to that. Right as they were about to send me home, I started getting it really, really bad, and they were going to keep me a little bit longer because they wanted to look at the baby's heart and stuff. And so I couldn't handle it. I was like, I need something. They gave me some fentanyl, and during the fentanyl, the doctor came in and was like, okay, we decided to keep you. Like, you're going to have an induction tomorrow. Why not? But we're not going to do anything to induce your labor. Not till 12 p.m., like 12 o'clock the next day, like at night.
Yeah.
So they're like, you're just going to sit here like this. We're going to move you to the other room. And I was like, okay, great. I'm happy that they're going to at least keep us. And we're expecting the baby tomorrow. We're expecting it still. Like, we're going to go into labor later. As soon as the doctor leaves, literally she leaves, and I'm sitting there, and he's texting his mom and his friends, or his, the godfather, that, Ahmad, that we're going to be staying. So, and Maddie. And so I'm getting ready to call my mom. And as I call my mom, literally, I'm on the phone with my mom, and I'm like, they're going to keep me. And then all of a sudden, I feel a pop. And I go, my water just broke. And my mom's like, what? And I hung up on her real quick because I'm like, Alan, get the nurse, my water broke. And so Alan dials the thing, and he's like, I think our water just broke. And so they're like, they come in and they check it. They have a little thing that'll check for your amniotic fluid. And right away it came up. Water's broken.
Bing, bing, bing.
And so it's going everywhere. It's trickling all over me. I feel like I'm peeing. They put me in this big ass pad. And they're like, we're going to get you into the labor and delivery room right now. And so they get me in there. They put up my pants, and I'm walking, and it's the worst pain ever. By then, my fentanyl's done. It's already been an hour. So my fentanyl's gone, and I'm feeling every contraction. And let me tell you, the absolute worst. Then we get into the labor and delivery room, and they are like, okay, do you want an epidural? And that's when I was like, hell yeah, give me an epidural. Like, I can't go through this.
Oh.
And then
Someone's waking up.
So when they gave me some fentanyl to calm me down for the epidural and just calm me down because of the contractions. Then we had the whole team come in for the epidural. I had Alan sitting right in front of me so that they can give it to me. And from my experience from the epidural, it did not hurt at all. I didn't feel it. I don't know if it was because I was having a contraction. I was so focused on that. I did not feel it one bit. It did not feel like a bee sting. It did not feel like a needle going inside me. Nothing. Once they gave that to me, I was...
I don't think she's hungry. We're going to pause the video. We got to feed her.
Okay, guys.
False alarm. She went back to sleep, but we got a bottle next to us just in case.
If I repeat a little, then I repeat a little. But Alan was sitting right here for the epidural. I didn't feel it. Okay, got into that. Anyways, I go and I sit back after the epidural because they said it takes 20 minutes to start to feel the epidural, and I start feeling the tingling, like it going down my leg. And shortly after, probably about 10 minutes after getting the epidural, she comes in to check me, and I'm 6 centimeters and 90% of phase, so just about there. And which was a crazy experience because it was literally like 20 minutes, the whole process of getting my epidural and all that. So I was in active labor before I had that epidural, and that was a crazy experience. But then I had a window of pain. So for the women to understand is sometimes you have a failed epidural. There is a such thing as that, and you want to go into it knowing that that could be a possibility. I don't want you to think that, you know, it's going to be the best, because my mom had all failed epidurals, and I told Alan, I think I'm going to have a failed epidural. And I didn't have a failed, I had a window. So, and having a window is just as good as not having an epidural at all, because you're still feeling that contraction. So we had the doctor come in and squirt new squirted into my catheter so it didn't drip. She put enough, and it didn't work. She did it again, and it didn't work. And so she was like, okay, I'm just gonna mess with this a little bit. I'm gonna take your catheter out. So took my catheter out, and I was numb. I was out of it by then. They put so much epidural in me that I was so gone by then. The feeling is definitely, no one can explain to you what the feeling is like. Alan was laying with me then on his little bed, so cute. And then the doctor came in again. She checked me and she said, you have like the tiniest little cervix left, but you're at a full 10. You're about to start pushing. And Alan looked, because they're like, in 20 minutes she could be out. And Alan's eyes went, what?
Wow, shot up.
He was like, 20 minutes? Like, because it literally went from us being sent home to, we're gonna have this baby in like an hour later. That's how soon it was an hour later. So I was like, holy shit. That's literally my only reaction, was holy shit. And she came in and they're like, okay, we're gonna get ready for some practice pushes. And I was like that, it hit. That's when I was like, it hit. And so they had a mirror. I chose to have a mirror. You can ask for a mirror if you'd like.
To watch yourself push.
To watch yourself push. I wanted to watch myself push because I thought it would be more encouraging to know what other people are looking at. And if I saw the head, maybe it would encourage me more to push rather than being like, oh, the head's there. And I wanted to watch. We weren't able to record, so I might as well get to watch the experience as well. I mean, it's my vagina. It's, you know, something. I want to know what's going on. So she gets ready and she tells me, okay, you're going to start pushing. I pull my legs back and I push as hard as I can, and all of a sudden you see Alan, he goes, oh my god, look, the head. And you see the head. So that one push caused the head to come down so far. I started crowning, and she's like, okay, we're gonna, like in the video, like you see, I'm gonna do 2 more pushes and we're gonna get my birthday suit on, which is like, because of the corona,
Yeah,
she has to have the whole mask and this whole suit on.
Well, no, doctors do that in general. That's
okay, but they have this, the face mask, do they?
She didn't have a face mask on.
Yeah, she did.
Okay, well, face mask
She had
is different.
the shielded
but
mask
birthday
like this.
suit means, there's a doctor term just meaning birthday suit. You're about to give birth. It's the baby's birthday. That's why she said birthday suit.
I didn't know that. But and then I started pushing, and she said, I was freaking out because there was only 2 doctors in the room. There was the RN actually, right, was for me, but she had, babe, do you remember what it was called? Melatonin or something?
What are you talking about?
Where she pooped inside me. The baby pooped inside me, so I had to have extra doctors be in there just in case. They didn't want to tell me what that meant. They didn't want to scare me, but the baby could die. The baby could like swallow its poop and like come out not breathing, and so I got really scared. I didn't know the full details. They didn't want to tell me because I was scared. The doctors ended up coming in. I pushed for like 25 minutes, and she was there. She came out hard, but the thing that happened is during my pushing, right when I started getting the hang of it, when she was coming out, the pressure, I had to push the entire time, and all I remember, this is why we tell both stories, is because I was pushing on I didn't really experience it as much as he did, but I just hear, stop pushing, and I'm still pushing because I can't stop pushing. I have to get it out of me. And so I see the doctor that was sitting right here go over to the side. She comes, grabs her hand, and goes, pushes as hard as she can down on my stomach. And I don't really understand what's going on. And they said that her shoulder got stuck and her head got stuck in my pelvic. So they literally pushed her out as hard as she can. She came out, and I only saw the umbilical cord a little bit, but I didn't see them unwrapping it or anything, because I look up and I see all my blood and like everything coming out of me. That's what I was focused on. And Alan got scared. I could tell that he was scared, but once they put the baby on me, he was watching the rest. I don't know what happened really after that. So that was my labor experience. He cut the cord. I got to watch him cut the cord, which was really cool. And my placenta, you give birth to your placenta after you give birth to your baby. The placenta doesn't come out with your baby. I had to push my placenta. So while I was holding the baby, they're like, we're gonna need you to push. And that thing is huge. It is huge. That's my story for the labor and delivery. There's really nothing to it afterwards. If you wanna,
if you have any questions,
if you want us to make a video of what it was like for 2 days in the hospital, what our experiences were there, then we'll make it. But for me, that was my labor experience. I tried to make it as simple, as sweet as possible. So now on to his experience. Gotta start from the very beginning.
Yeah. I'm gonna sum it up because she obviously we were together. Obviously she woke up in the morning. Her mucus blood, blah blah blah. I usually sleep in hella. You know, I don't care. I'm a heavy sleeper, but this morning I woke up. I had this weird. I couldn't go back to sleep. I was really worried about her. She was having these contractions, and you know I was really worried. So I was like, screw it, we're going to the hospital. We called, we let them know they're on our way. We get there, and I will say this for guys, for dads, make sure you are the calm one, because that's a biggie. If you two both are freaking out, then it's like, oh my God, I just told myself, I mentally prepared myself for this moment. I promise you, you have to just mentally prepare yourself for this moment when your wife, girl, partner, spouse are about to give labor, you know, it's Labor Day, whatever. You have to stay calm and you have to be there to support them, because that is the most important day, you know. So, you know, of course I was calm. You know, we're driving, I'm just talking to her, like, it's gonna be okay, stuff like that, you know, whatever. Get to the hospital, we get to that room, you know, they monitor her, set up the contractions, stuff like that, monitoring the contractions, and she's just in so much pain. I'm just talking to her, trying to be there for her, trying to entertain her, trying to get her mind off things, but it got so bad to the point they were like, she needs some. They give her fentanyl. You know, that helped. You can instantly see her change. Her eyes are just, drugs are crazy, man. Stay off drugs. Yeah, you know, and I'm like, okay, this is getting real. I knew I was like, okay, like today's gonna be the day probably. Like it just feels like it, like it's getting so real, you know. You're just sitting as a dude, you're like, dude, this shit's getting real, like, oh my God. But yeah, then we get, you know, her water breaks, and I didn't really understand because she was on the phone with her mom, and I'm like, what? And then I look at her vagina, and it looks like she just pissed herself. So I'm like, oh, okay. So we called a nurse, they come in, and they're like, oh my God, what timing, you know? So we get put in the labor room. We're just chilling there. We chilled there for a while, man. It was like a couple hours, maybe 3. Then, you know, we agreed for the epidural. We got the epidural. I was there for her. She was still on fentanyl. They gave her another dose, so she was kind of like, you know, little droopy. But like I was just sitting. I got to sit in front of her and support her during the epidural process. It wasn't that bad. It went smooth. Yeah, and then after that, it was just a waiting game. As a dude, you're just waiting, and I couldn't sleep. You know, it's like you can't sleep. You have so much on your mind. You're just like, oh my gosh, how is this gonna go? What's gonna happen? I couldn't sleep, so I'm just there trying to support her. You know, lay next to her. You know, talk to her. You know, try to keep her calm. And then doctor, you know, whatever doctor comes in, checks her cervix again. It's like, okay, 20 more minutes, and I'm like, ooh. Okay, you know, it hits you deep. You're like, oh damn, okay. So it's like we start preparing. Yeah, and that's when I set up the camera. I wish we could have recorded the whole thing. I should have just let it play on.
You should have finessed.
I should have finessed, but you know, it's okay. OHSU staff and everyone was so amazing there.
Amazing.
They helped us out so great. But yeah, and then it was time to push. Doctor was like, let's give a practice push. All of a sudden, you see a little, like she saw the head, so she's like, okay, it's go time. She calls like the other nurses, doctors, and stuff, and then we just start pushing. And I'm next to her, and as a man, like I don't know, I like it. It was fun for me because I like medical stuff, so I was just, you know, holding her, trying to support her. Like, you got this, like. That's what you really have to do. I'm going to tell every guy out there, you know, whoever watches this video to the end, or if you guys made it this far, support your girl, support your woman, because you have to, like I said, you have to be the calm one. if you're freaking out too, dude, it's gonna be a bad experience.
I don't know what that life would have been
Yeah,
like.
if I was freaking out, it would have sucked. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you have nurses in there trying to calm you down, but dude, you have to just be calm. Support her, even if you get disgusted, stuff like that. Be a man. This is. I will never want to experience the type of pain women go through labor contractions. Never, never. That sounds so agonizing. But yeah. So she started pushing. She's pushing. She's pushing. You know, I'm looking in the mirror. And then like I'm watching her vagina stretch out. It's cool shit. And then you see the head, and I'm like, oh shit, there's the head. It looked so little at first. It was like, it looked so little, and the doctor let us touch it,
It was a weird feeling.
And yeah, she's just pushing, pushing, pushing. And then this is where it got scary, It was very to the end. She's doing so good. I'm like, babe, you're doing great. And then the doctor's like, stop pushing, stop pushing. And I'm like, all of a sudden, I'm looking around. I'm like, what's going on? You see this doctor come around, push on her stomach. And I just see our baby slide out, but she had the umbilical. The reason why I got scared is because she had an umbilical cord around her neck, and her face looked blue. That's why I got scared. I was like, oh shit. I was like,
I didn't see that.
I was like, oh shit. I really hope she's okay. But I see her untangle the cord and just like put her, and they're like have a squeezy thing, so they're going to her mouth squeezing if there's any liquids and stuff out. And then I don't hear nothing out of my baby, so I'm like worried. But she put her on her chest, and she started crying. So I was like, okay, everything's good, I didn't cry or anything. I was just, I don't know, I was just happy. I was just like, that little moment at the end really shocked me, because I was like, man, well, seeing that I was like a little scared. But overall, yeah, I was watching stuff come out of her vagina. I got to saw the push out the placenta. For me, it was really cool. I know there's guys out there that are really disgusted and stuff, have weak stomachs, but for me, it was cool. I was just there to support her. I enjoyed it. Then, I got to finally hold her and all that stuff, and she was just so little and so cute. So I was happy. Everything went good and smooth. And the thing they called why her shoulder got stuck, it's called shoulder dystocia, something like that.
Dystocia. He's good at remembering.
We get it wrong, but it's because her pelvic bone is really small. So her shoulder got stuck, so it got dislocated a little bit because, I had to push her out, but it popped right back into place. So yeah, overall that was the experience, and we got to just chill with our baby from there. We went up to the mother room, and overall, yeah.
She weighed 7 pounds, 11 ounces.
7 pounds, 11 ounces, 20 inches.
Long. So
yes.
She's kind of a small baby compared to what we were, at least.
Yeah.
So luckily, she was a small baby, because from now on, if we're not going to have any kids anytime soon, so don't get excited or think we're like saying anything like that. But if I were to have another baby, I have to let them know, because I could potentially only have a C-section from here on out, because luckily she was the size that she was, because it could have been a lot worse than what it was, and we're thankful for the way that everything turned out.
And Elle didn't tear at all.
Oh, that's important.
Yeah, she didn't mention that. She did not tear.
Did not tear.
Her vagina's good. One thing though, what happened was her uterus didn't start contracting like it was supposed to.
I forgot to tell you about that.
Yeah, I was supposed to. So it was a little worry. This is what happened. When doctors know that something's wrong, they start talking really quiet. But I pick up on that shit, so I start looking, and I hear like, oh, her uterus. So they finally let us know, but they're like, it's not that big of a worry. They just have to literally. Her whole fist was in her vagina, and taking out blood clots and stuff like that, and yeah, and they gave her some medication so her uterus could go back to like start shrinking down, back down.
Bleeding.
Yeah, she was losing a lot of blood, so that's another thing. But overall, experience went great for us. We're blessed. Thank you, God. Thank you to everyone who supported us throughout this whole pregnancy journey. Now you guys are going to be supporting us through this newborn and obviously stages of life journey with our beautiful little daughter, Alea May Taliboff, aka Alea May Reckzz, because we are the Reckzz family. But make sure you guys like and subscribe to the video. It helps us out. Share, subscribe.
Our old videos will be in the link below, so you can watch our labor and delivery vlog in case you missed that, because it is important you go and watch that so you can see it in live action and not just from what we heard.
Yeah. So we're signing out. Here's a little baby. Yeah.
Now kiss me.
Mwah.
And kiss baby.
Mwah.
And peace.